Hello, everyone. My name is Dr. Jason Wiggins, and welcome to another podcast. And I am your Generation Z and Millennial expert. Today, we're going to talk about specifically the four generations that are currently in the workforce. There's actually five, but there's only maybe 1, maybe 2% of the workforce that is still currently working, and they are known as the traditionalists. And the traditionalists were born prior to 1945. And therefore, we have currently in the workforce, we have the baby boomers, Generation X, Generation Y, also known as the Millennials, and Generation Z. And just recently born, not in the workforce, is Generation Alpha. Generation Alpha was born roughly 2015. So the oldest current Generation Alpha is 5 years old, and they are not in the workforce. And so that's where we're going to start. We're going to actually start with the baby boomers. First of all, the baby boomers were born between the years of 1946 to 1964. Then we have the Generation X, and Generation X was born between the years of 1965 to 1979, and millennials were born between the years of 1980 to 1995, depending on what research material you're looking at. And millennials followed up by Generation Z. And Generation Z was born between the years of 1996 to, again, roughly 2014, right before they passed the baton to Generation Alpha. So that leads us talking about the baby boomers. The baby boomers were an extremely hard-working workforce. They were dedicated to the job, dedicated to working hard and taking care of the family. This generation had some great values that were associated with it. However, when there's anything too great, there's also some concerns. And the concerns initially were that this generation experienced divorce rates more than any other previous generation. Families would stick together. Family bonds were important prior to the baby boomers. But what happened is baby boomers were so interested in working, and it was predominantly a male workforce, but at the same time, women also began to start working as well. And this also caused a lot of concerns amongst the family, because you had mom at work, dad at work. Dad was dedicated to his job from morning to night. Mom was working, trying to take care of the family. And those were a lot of issues that ended up starting a new generation sort of acclimation, which leads to Generation X. So Generation X were known as the latchkey children, the lost kids, because the way they were raised was the parents would say, "Hey, little Johnny, little Joanne, I want you to make sure you're home before the sun sets." So there was no digital phones, there was no Androids, there was no iPads, iPods, iPhones. And so you were only, no pagers, so you only had the sunset to tell you when to be home. And this would be very difficult this day and age for many parents to be able to facilitate that type of upbringing, because we are so connected via digital and via iPhone and Android. Generation X would have to take care of themselves. They were very independent. This was a generation that saw their parents work extremely hard for everything they wanted to get within the family. So they started to value work and life balance. It wasn't about working 80 hours a week. It wasn't all about the money. It was about having a work-life balance where they could do other things, because they saw how their parents treated them, and they didn't want to raise their kids the same way. So when they have millennials and Generation Z children, they want to be able to provide for them, but also show them that they are going to be there and be a big part of their life, while the baby boomers were not a big part of Generation X's life. And Generation X felt that. They knew they were loved. They knew that there was a bonding of the family, but they also learned that I have to be independent. You have to do your homework. You have to take care of yourself. So those are some key attributes. So Generation X are not so much collaborators and team members as they are more independent workers. So this leads to millennials. Millennials, as everybody knows or everybody thinks, they're all excited about participation awards because they were pampered by their Generation X parents. Because again, Generation X didn't experience a lot of that same upbringing that they're trying to pass on to their children. Generation X were the type of family and type of members of the family that said, hey, I support you in everything you do. What do you want to do? Let's work together to figure it out. Millennials, on the other hand, they experienced a lot of coddling. But this experience that they had, basically they understood that it was so important to be part of a team, to collaborate, to experience something special. So not only did they want recognition for their own well-being, they wanted to have a team recognition. And this was something that was important to them and their overall value system. Millennials are an extremely intelligent generation, and every generation from here on forward seems to become more intelligent. Their attention span becomes a little bit less. For example, millennials' attention span is roughly 10%, 10 seconds. So 10-second attention span, which then brings you back to the quick YouTube videos and all the different chats, social medias that they experienced, because again, they were the first fully digitalized generation. This generation experienced technology for the first time back in roughly 1997 was the internet was established. So they were roughly 15 years old and they started to experience computers, Apple computers, Commodore computers back in the mid 1980s. Generation Z. Generation Z is a generation now that they were born with an iPhone, an Android, the computer, everything at their fingertips. So what this leads to is a very short attention span. Their attention span on average is 8 seconds. They are also known as the YouTube generation. They are about being more independent. They're about making money. This is a financial independent generation, meaning they're not looking for handouts. They may live with their parents up to a later age because this gives them the opportunity to start their own businesses, to work on different platforms to find ways to generate money. They are extremely independent. They're extremely money motivated. 55% of Generation Z plan to own a business more than millennials, while 45% of this generation will start businesses, meaning as companies, organizations, we need to find ways to motivate, get them excited, retain them, because if we don't, then they're going to start their own businesses and they're going to be entrepreneurs. So there's going to be a different way for us as a organization development or leadership or HR to make sure we develop these talented individuals. Let's kind of recap here. The generations, as we know them, continue to become smarter. Why? Because they have information available at their fingertips. They have different concerns. Every single generation is different. As we mentioned, the baby boomers were extremely hardworking. Generation X decided that they wanted to have life and work balance. Millennials decided they wanted to collaborate and be part of a team and really show what they can do together. Generation Z were more independent. They want to be recognized for what they do. So whatever their achievements is, they want to make sure that they became that generation that received full fulfillment. And so as we can see moving forward, together we can really excite this generation. We can work together because again, if you have 4 generations in the workplace, you got to figure out ways to mold them together. It's not always perfect science to have a baby boomer and a Generation C working together and collaborating because they're all different. It's not just about what year the generation was born in. That's not what it's about. It's about what their value system is. Some value social media more than others. You look at the baby boomers. Many will say the baby boomers are resistant to technology. That's not the case. The case more so is they haven't had the chance to adapt. We've got to utilize the tools to help them adapt, and then they will feel more gratification and more a sense of well-being with technology. While Generation Z, they have very low tolerance for low technology, meaning if there's a company that has minimal technology, this is going to cause a lot of issues. We're talking about the social causes. Millennials and Generation Z are all about social causes. They're all about making sure that the greenhouse issue is not something that's going to rise. They're concerned about global warming. That's something that is paramount on their minds. They're concerned about artificial intelligence. So you can see that each one of these generations has a big difference in how they are evaluating what's going on and the companies they want to work for. So let's continue to rise above and make all four generations excited to work together and work for our individual companies. Again, my name is Dr. Jason Wiggins. I am your Generation Z and Millennial experts. Please like, subscribe, comment below, because I want you to know when our next video is, so you'll be able to listen and watch at your convenience. Again, thank you very much, and we'll look forward to talking to you soon. Have a great day, and talk to you later. Bye-bye.